Hello, hello, hello to my day ones and the newly subscribed audience out there of MCR. It is your lovely host of Man Cinema Reviews, Peter Mann II. What's up, y'all? Today, I'm really beginning to like the format that we have going on this episode. It is another roundup collective episode. Unfortunately, like my last episode, it does not feature my son, Peter Mann III, MCR favorite. He had to sit this one out due to the adult content of these more hard R releases in September. I have for you today a episode that I have titled The Cream of the Crop and the double feature as stinkers. So, before we get into it, go ahead and do what you've been doing, or what you should be doing, and that is press like, comment, subscribe. I hate reminding you folks, but it's important to hit the notification bell as well so you know when a new review is posted. Thank you very much for choosing Man Cinema Reviews. Okay, so the first film that we're going to get into today is the latest from writer-director Paul Schrader, and that is The Card Counter, a new crime drama from the screenplay writer of Taxi Driver, among a slew of other films, a very seasoned veteran in the game, and he's got a bit of a renaissance period with these new features that he's had with the First Reformed that had come out a couple years ago with Ethan Hawke. It's very similar in that this film centers on the titular character, William Tell. He is a gambler and former service member. He is approached by a young man named Cirque, played by Ty Sheridan. William Tell is brilliantly played by the actor Oscar Isaac. Cirque comes to him in response to the passing of his late father. The relation to Tell is that they served together years and years ago, and that he believes that Cirque believes that his father's untimely demise was due to the events that led up to when he was in the service of the interrogation and torture tactics by a military colonel played by William Dafoe. Now, Tell brings Cirque under his wing, and he wants him to turn away from violence. So he's trying to convince him to come with him on his journey in playing cards. He meets another gambler associate by the name of La Linda, played by Tiffany Haddish. This film is filled with just complex characters, seeped with melodrama, but it's very meticulous, it's very calculated, it's very Paul Schrader. He gives you the ultimate shades of gray. He really emphasizes the central anti-hero kind of outsider, the societal outlier that has to come to grips with a dark past. And this film's no different. It's beautifully shot. The key characters aforementioned are playing to their strengths. Oscar Isaac is giving a riveting, unflinching portrayal as William Tell. There is more that meets the eye with his character. And Ty Sheridan gives that vulnerability that he usually gives in his performances. I would have to say that the standout, surprisingly, is Tiffany Haddish. Now, I've been a Tiffany Haddish stan, if you know, from my Livewire days. When I first seen her in the film Girls Trip, she's doing a complete different role in this film, and it's not relying on her comedic chops. She's really stepping out into a more dramatic role here, and the film calls for it. I mean, all the players come to play. This has to be one of my favorite films of this year. There's no real weaknesses in that. Maybe it is very cold and distant, but that's what Schrader does best. If anything, the film left me with a conclusion that was a little undercooked, but it is phenomenal otherwise. I can't give much more praise than I've already given. This film, the card counter is one of the best this year. It is definitely worth its full-fledged 5 stars. We are going to get into the next release, and that is Malignant. Now, if you can guess it, it surprisingly comes from the double feature stinker selection. Unfortunately, James Wan horror auteur comes with his latest crowd pleaser, Malignant. It is getting rave reviews. A lot of people that I know personally, give this film a lot of praise. I've seen very little naysayers, but there are some, and I'm among the naysayers. I'm gonna get into what this film is about. It is centered on a woman named Madison who is tormented by vivid dreams that feel very real, and these dreams come to a head when they are scenes of horrible murders that have become a reality. This film, just to me, screams, absurdist 1980s throwback horror, and that's not saying that's not a good thing. It definitely gives you that nostalgia, gives homage to the greats. Brian De Palma comes to mind. A lot of people say that a companion piece would be Sisters. I've yet to see that film, but I'm pretty sure that we know where James Wan draws his inspirations from. But when he's coming back to horror, he is drawing from the 1980s horror B-level films. I just find it kind of redundant. I thought that the acting here was atrocious. I thought the screenplay was just, I didn't really care for the more story thematic elements of Malignant. And as far as scares are concerned, it's too kind of high concept. It reminds me of the film Old, to where it just has diminishing returns. And that's just to me. A lot of people seem to like this film. It's getting rave reviews, but not for me. Unfortunately, Mann Cinema Reviews gives Malignant a 1-star review. It is sad to say. Moving right along, we are going to get into the latest release. This came out this past Friday, Blue Bayou, from actor, writer, director Justin Chon. I'm actually surprised that he is a familiar face. He was in the Twilight series, playing this kid named Eric, who welcomes one of the first people that talks to Bella Swan. It is crazy to see this transformation into kind of a art house indie director that Justin Chon has become. And he really wears his inspiration on his shoulders, and that comes from films from Derek Cian-France. I definitely see a lot of Blue Valentine and The Place Beyond the Pines in this film. I have yet to see Chon's past features that he's directed, Gook and Miss Purple. I did see the trailer shortly before filming this episode, and I'm definitely interested in seeing what he has done as a director. He's fairly young, only 40 years old, and he has given such great output in a short amount of time as far as his directorial is concerned. As an actor, he's very riveting in this film. This film is based on a Korean American adopted immigrant, Antonio. He lives with his pregnant wife, Kathy, played by Alicia Vikander. They have a little girl. It's from a previous a relationship that she had, but he treats her daughter like his own, and he gets in trouble with the law. He's had a criminal past that can't escape him, and unfortunately faces deportation. And this film is just an amalgamation of a lot of films that I've seen, a lot of indie art house films, and it really is my cup of tea. The Derek Cianfrance story by Sound of Metal was definitely something of a spectacle for me earlier this year. And with Blue Bayou, I see the greatness that Justin Chon is as a director. I'm actually an immediate fan from watching just this film. Not to say that it doesn't have its faults. I think that the third act has kind of thematic problems, thematic elements that don't really sit well with me. Certain actions that didn't need to be taken, but to move the plot, I guess we need that kind of emotional response that this film gives. It's a great film, though. Don't get me wrong. It is seeped in melodrama, and I've seen a lot of criticisms that it's too much melodrama. It relies heavily on the melodrama. All it is melodrama. You can miss me with that. I love directors that really give a focus in on the human condition. This being, a South Korean immigrant whose faults, of facing deportation is none other than the adopted parents' faults of not, properly filling out paperwork for him to become a citizen. And so you see this kind of stuff happening every day. And so the thematic elements ripped out of newspaper headlines, I really loved this film. I see its faults, however. Again, being choppy towards the end of the film. I wish it just was a little bit more focused, but I really did come away from really liking this film. Everybody involved, behind and in front of the camera, it's great. Again, I see a lot of Derek Cianfrance and Justin Chon, and I really like his trajectory here. I was deeply affected by the end of the film, even though I had some problems with the few scenes leading up to it. Very effective to the point where I cry. So if a movie makes me cry, I'm a sucker for it. I give Blue Bayou a strong 4 stars. It's a winner. I really hope that you go out in the theaters and search this film out, because it's great. And I do see a future for Justin Chon, and I'm looking forward to more films. So Justin Chon, keep up the good work. Going on to our last film, The Voyeurs. I'm going to quickly go over this film. I saw greatness in this, but unfortunately, this is not the cream of the crop. This is part of Malignant's double feature stinkers. This is a film by Michael Mohan. I think it might be one, if not the first film from this director. This is starring Sydney Sweeney of Euphoria. We have Justice Smith, Ben Hardy, and Natasha Liu Bordizio. This is the main cast of The Voyeurs. It's basically about this couple, Pippa and Thomas, that just moved into a loft, and across the way they see a photographer and his muse, and they get into some intimate moments, you could say. And so they're kind of spying on their neighbors. I mean, you could see this in Rear Window, Disturbia, The Woman in the Window. I think that was the last film that Netflix released that I did not care for one bit. But The Voyeurs kind of takes a little bit of everything from its previous predecessors, in that it's more interesting to see what others are doing. You get caught up in the lives of others, especially if you're not doing much, you're sitting around talking amongst each other. But they get in way too deep, and it gets to fatal blows. But by the end of it, this film had so much promise to such an absurdist, kind of malignant, kind of thematic themes of it being just overblown and absurd, and I just thought it was very silly. The film leading up was, I saw great promise, but unfortunately with the Voyeurs, it all happens to be in the last segment of the film that I thought it was such a cheap shot to its audience. It takes away all the mystique, it takes away all the inspirations that it comes from, and really kind of just blows up in its face. The Voyeurs, unfortunately, is a little bit better than Malignant, but not by much. I give this film 1.5 stars. This is my cream of the crop versus double feature stinkers. Thank you very much for tuning into this episode. I had fun with this one. Please, if you go out in theaters, be sure to be safe. And thank you for choosing Mad Cinema Reviews. We'll see you on the next one.